Hokage Unlimited enhancement every 60 days. Chapter 341 to 360. 341. Big Mom pirates arrive. It's Luffy. After Monet saw it, he was overjoyed. Maybe it was because of Longcheng's destiny that he waited for reinforcements. Hey, Moonlight Dragon City. Nami was also wearing a sexy waistcoat at this time and beckoned to Longcheng. Luffy, here we are. Duke Inuarashi waved his long sword in the air, immediately caught Luffy's attention, and looked in the direction of Dragon City. At this time, as the commander-in-chief of the army, Heiwan Zephyr also realized that the war situation was becoming more and more unfavorable for them, and what he couldn't imagine was that under the siege of so many navies, Longcheng first defeated the tyrant, and then overturned 3 White Bear pacifists, and at this moment, it can still continue to hold on. Moonlight Dragon City, how much potential do you have? The Black Wrist Zephyr sighed secretly, with strong unwillingness in his eyes, and his eyes were hostile to all the pirates in front of him. Similarly, as a defender of absolute justice, Sakazuki has the same feeling. However, unlike Black Wrist Zephyr, Sakazuki did not show a pessimistic attitude, but took a stick in his mouth. With a thick cigar, he looked at the Straw Hat pirates who were advancing rapidly in the distance. From Sakazuki's point of view, the Straw Hats are not afraid of danger to him, and what really caught his attention was Moonlight Dragon City and the red-haired Shanks. Considering that Moonlight Dragon City has just fought a big battle, it should also consume 7 to 88 physical strength. If they fight again, they may not have no chance of winning. As long as they find someone to drag out the red-haired Shanks, they still have a chance to kill Longcheng. Just as Duke Inuarashi, Cat Viper, and Feng Kele on the pirate ship thought that the advantage of the battle was beginning to turn towards them, suddenly, Monet, who was flying in midair and beckoning to Luffy and his party, inadvertently saw another. The first scene made her tremble. She immediately returned to the ship, and said to everyone, "No, there seems to be a Navy warship coming towards us in the distance." What? Instant, Monet's remarks made all the pirates on the ship who saw hope become nervous again. After Longcheng heard the words, he followed the direction Monet had just looked at. The blunt top hat, the cold red lips and the sinister smile, the top of the head is Prometheus, and the blue cloud in the lower left corner refers to Thundercloud Zeus. That, the icon could be, at a time like this. How is that possible? Realizing that the situation is about to become more and more complicated, to be precise, it should be extremely critical, Longcheng couldn't help frowning at this moment, and suddenly had the idea of retreat temporarily. However, in front of the Navy Bartholomew's warship and the 3 fleets led by Akainu, it was obviously impossible for them to escape successfully. If he waits for reinforcements from the Navy to arrive, I am afraid that even he will not be able to withstand it, and even the pirate group he has worked so hard to build will be destroyed. Because one of the people who came was Charlotte Lingling from the 4 Emperors. That Longcheng could never have imagined. I remember that on the first day he came to Windless Belt, he heard that Charlotte Lingling and Kaido both led their respective pirate groups to snatch Whitebeard's territory and various kinds of pirates. Resources. Could it be the territory, the resources have been robbed, or is it the order of the naval headquarters to withdraw immediately and support the navy? If it is the former, Longcheng obviously does not believe it, although he has met his old friend Bissy in this Windless Belt one after another. Ta also met with the captain of the 3rd Division, Jose, and the captain of the 1st Division, Marco, and then heard the news of Ace, but the Whitebeard pirates have a total of 14 division captains, 43 pirate groups, such an amazing number, even if 1 or 2 captains are gone, their combat power should not be underestimated, and it is impossible to end the battle so quickly. Therefore, Longcheng roughly judged that it should have received the above instructions, so he had to come to support as soon as possible. However, in reality, when she received such an arrogant and unreasonable order, her first reaction was anger and fury, but because of the meaning of the world government, she had to obey the order, but, always greedy, turned to his eyes fixed on Moonlight Dragon City and Junjun Fruit. To this end, her pirate group was specially divided into 2 groups, consisting of Charlotte Perosparrow, Charlotte Owen, Charlotte Cotton-C, Charlotte Opera and Charlotte Conte and others. Team, and handed over to Charlotte Smoothie, one of the 3-star dessert generals, to be in charge. Charlotte Smoothie and Charlotte Owen have nothing to say about such an arrangement, because they haven't come to explain to their mother that they lost the battle to Longcheng, and they have no face to fight against Longcheng, so they will automatically please order, to find the fruit of Junjun, and make a contribution to the crime. If Charlotte Lingling discovers their strangeness immediately and is forced to ask the truth, there will be no good fruit to eat. 4. They who know Charlotte Lingling's hot temper very well, naturally dare not touch her inverse scales, especially Moonlight Dragon City, which once turned the world upside down. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 342. Today is your death date. You must know that in the world, class is the best synonym for strength. The higher the level, the stronger their combat power, such as the current Desert 3-star general. Years ago, Desert's 3-star general was actually a 4-star 44 general, but was removed from the 4-star 44 general only because Charlotte Snag lost to the eccentric monk Erkey. Back at the moment, seeing Charlotte Lingling's pirate ship getting closer and closer, the red-haired Shanks hovered in the air with his skilled moon steps, and looked in the direction of the Navy reinforcements, involuntarily muttered to himself. This is bad. Not only came one of the 4 emperors, but also the eagle eye of the king's Chiwahai came. The naval headquarters sent a large group of people to encircle and suppress them. Is it just for the Moonlight Dragon City? In fact, as for why such a large number of naval reinforcements suddenly came, it was mainly because the locator in Bartholomew Bear was immersed in the sea after being hit by the Dragon City, causing him to be in contact with the Navy and the world. The government lost contact. Very few pirates who can defeat the Bartholomew Bear, looking at the entire maritime domain, and they are all powerful enough to ignore the naval headquarters. In the face of such a strong enemy, how could the Navy sit idly by? Why the pirates and the world's #1 swordsman, who are still in the vicinity, were dispatched. Eagle came to help. If you want to play against Charlotte Lingling and Hawkeye at the same time, let alone Dragon City, even the red-haired Shanks feels very difficult. At this moment, Charlotte Lingling, who was writhing with a fat body, walked out of the cabin, came to the deck, took a double-lens telescope from a cadre's hand, and looked at her companions and enemies hundreds of meters away. That guy, isn't that the Moonlight Dragon City? Could it be that the guy above said that the guy who defeated the Bartholomew Bear? Charlotte Lingling was so angry that she gritted her teeth and muttered to herself. Speaking of which, she once again recalled the time when Longcheng secretly sneaked into the 10,000 kingdoms, causing the chaos to be turned upside down, and taking away one of her pets, Momonosuke. Zeus. Charlotte Lingling almost tried her best to scream. Even Longcheng, Duke Inulin and the others could vaguely hear it. Hack that guy in Moonlight Dragon City to death for me, Tai Lingling said extremely angrily. Thundercloud Zeus didn't want to provoke anger. Once she was forced to run wild, no one could stop her. At that time, everyone would suffer. Hearing the angry shouts in the distance, Longcheng, who was fighting with Zephyr and Akainu in the distance, felt tight in his heart, and he didn't know what to do. And the red-haired Shanks, who was watching from the side, couldn't stand it anymore, and decided to openly lend a helping hand to Longcheng. As the 4 emperors, he really should not openly protect Dragon City, but as long as he has a reason, the world government will still turn a blind eye to him, just because the red-haired Shankses like Doflamingo, both, the secret treasure, of Mary Joa. Know something. This matter was not directly mentioned in the original plot, but if Longcheng had to review it carefully, he would soon be able to reveal some clues. For example, at a meeting of the 5 Old Stars, when Doflamingo first arrived, he wanted to speak bluntly about the secret treasure of Mary Joa. At this moment, the red-haired Shanks threatened to kill each other. Obviously, Shanks must know something. Thundercloud Zeus was suspended above the sky and was flying towards the Dragon City at a very fast speed, and in its cloud layer, there were still shimmers of thunderlight. Moonlight Dragon City, today is your day of death." Having said that, Charlotte Lingling furiously pulled out the broadsword that was transformed from Napoleon's double-horned hat. And Hokage Rachel Mahawk also drew out his famous sword, Black Blade Knight, from behind him, and pointed it at Longcheng's head. "You know, this is a head with a bounty of 11 Bailey, and who doesn't want to prove himself, he would rather take the risk of being killed, and find Moonlight Dragon City desperately." The critical moment, when all the navies believed that Longcheng would definitely die today, suddenly, a sudden sound of a phone bug alerted everyone. Yes, there is more than one phone bug. There are phone bugs on the ships of the Iron Wall pirates, Akainu, Tyrant Bartholomew, the Navy, and even the pirates. In shock, Charlotte Lingling was even more annoyed in her heart. She was furious and stared. "Who is calling? Bring it to me." A furious roar caused a cadre to panic and almost drop the phone bug to the ground. In a panic, he handed it into Charlotte Lingling's hands. "Hey, I'm still in a hurry to execute Moonlight Dragon City. If you have something to say, hurry up and let go." Charlotte Lingling is already furious, no matter who is on the other end of the phone. 343. Junjun fruit was found. "Oh, so you have found Moonlight Dragon City, so please get rid of him as soon as possible." At the other end, it was originally none other than the Marshal of the Naval Headquarters, the Warring States period. "Warring States, you called me specifically, wouldn't you just say something like this?" Charlotte Lingling was secretly resentful and asked with gritted teeth. "Of course not. Warring States period is very calm," and continued, "I called you specially, of course, including the 3 generals of the Navy and others. It seems that the Junjun fruit has been found." "What?" As soon as these words came out, everyone on the field showed extremely shocked expressions in an instant. At the same time, Duke Inulin also received a notification from a phone bug. This phone bug came from a friend of the pirate group. Longcheng had an agreement with the captain of the other party. The whereabouts will be immediately notified to the other party. "Young master, the big thing is bad. I heard that the Junjun fruit has been found, and almost all the Navy and pirate group were rushing towards the same place." Duke Inuarashi shouted loudly. Longcheng heard this. He immediately held his breath. He didn't expect that the fruit of the shock would fall into the hands of others. If it was the Navy, then from now on, the pirates would probably continue to be pressed and beaten. With the power of Junjun fruit to destroy the world, whoever gets it is destined to become one of the next 4 new emperors on the sea. Duke Inuarashi, did the other party say who got the Junjun fruit? Longcheng asked eagerly. At first, he thought that the Navy was probably just releasing a fake news with the intention of attracting most of the pirates to look for them so that they could be caught. From this news, it is not difficult to judge that the Navy did not deceive them, and it seems that the shocking fruit is true. Who is it? Who got the Junjun fruit? This question repeatedly lingered in Longcheng's mind. Duke Inunarashi replied, "Your Highness," the other party only said a simple sentence, and then hung up. It must have been a surprise attack from the Navy. Indeed, if this news is mad, it will definitely attract the attention of all the pirates who come here, and everyone will only swarm up, even if it is an endless hell. At this moment, Longcheng once again transferred to the naval warship under him, and saw Akainu, Black Arm Zephyr and the others all ordering to turn the bow of the ship, as if they wanted to support the fierce front line, even the pirate group, also making an emergency turnaround. It's great, everyone is safe and sound at last. Monet took a long breath, and his lower body went soft, like a clay figurine in water, slumped on the deck. I have to say that it was really dangerous just now. If it weren't for the alarming sound of the phone bug, I'm afraid everyone on the boat would have to face an inevitable battle of life and death. Longcheng frowned at this time, and seeing the naval warships that were drifting away, he made a decision resolutely. Duke Inulin, we also turn the bow and follow the Navy, and the fruit of shock is the white beard left. The fruit that came down, it represents an era, and we must not let it fall into the hands of the Navy. However, when Longcheng just said these words, he realized something in a trance, so he fell into hard thinking very seriously. This Duke Inulin couldn't help but look startled. Everyone finally got out of the danger. Does Longcheng really plan to continue to chase after him? Yes, but for the second half, he didn't know it at all, so not only him, but also the cat and pit viper were dumbfounded. After all, none of them have experienced the war on the top, and Longcheng, as a traveler, said what Whitebeard said before his death in the war on the top. The shocking words are still fresh in my memory. In Longcheng's eyes, the Junjun fruit is a synonym for Whitebeard. Like Whitebeard, it symbolizes a representative of an old era. As a traveler of Longcheng, he doesn't want to let the things left by Whitebeard into the hands of outsiders. This includes not only the navy, but also the evil pirates who are full of evil. Due to the urgency of time, Longcheng must not fight against every second, and he quickly figured out one thing. If the navy really got the quake fruit, why would they have to donate the quake fruit? Are they so sure that they have the ability to capture all the pirates who came to find the quake fruit? You know, in the wholesaling world, it is not relying on the Whitebeard to support it alone. Even without the Whitebeard, there are still many strong men in the pirate world, such as the 11 members of the Supernova at Sea, and more than a dozen teams under the Whitebeard pirates. The captain, and more than 40 pirate groups, they are qualified to join the big family of Whitebeard, but it is not just relying on their words, they must have quite strong strength. Longcheng believed from the very beginning that the navy could not have such great confidence. If so, there is only one possibility left. The Junjun fruit is not in the hands of the navy. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 344. Dragon City is still alive. The Junjun fruit should not be in the hands of the navy. After Longcheng returned to the shipboard, he spoke out his thoughts. However, as soon as these words came out, everyone on the boat suddenly looked slightly startled. You looked at me, I looked at you, full of doubts, and I didn't know why Longcheng had such an idea. So Longcheng took his guess. He also said it without reservation, but during this period, Longcheng found that there seemed to be one person missing on the boat, Caesar Curran. Xiaobai glanced at Longcheng and seemed to understand who Longcheng was looking for, so he quickly twisted his body, came to the edge of the boat, and stretched his head down vertically. Longcheng subconsciously guessed that Caesar Curran had fallen into the sea. This guy, doesn't he change his stubbornness and escape secretly while everyone is in danger? However, the surrounding sea area was unobstructed, and it was all vast seawater. Not even a single seagull was seen, let alone Caesar Curran who escaped secretly. To say whether Caesar Curran will swim and abscond from the Dragon City, you don't even have to think about it. As the person with the ability of the devil fruit, he must not jump into the sea safely. Xiaobai, you brought Caesar Curran into the sea. Monet said the question that Longcheng wanted to ask the most. I saw that Xiaobai looked at the east for a while, and looked at the west for a while, obviously not knowing how to hide his embarrassment. As for Caesar Curran, where he is now submerged in still water dozens of meters below, his consciousness has become extremely blurred, as if he will be drowned at any time. Fortunately, Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper and other companions are not capable, and after sending 10 people to dive underwater to search, they finally salvage the other party. PFF'd. PFF'd. As he came up, Caesar Curran spit out a large amount of saliva one after another. Up. However, it is not difficult for the demon fruit ability person to fall into the seawater. The ability will not be completely banned, but after falling into the water, the ability will be temporarily. Those who are able also lose the ability to swim, resulting in weakness in their limbs. This is because the seawater is rich in seafloor stones, and there are many seafloor stones that can only be found in seafloor stones. The seafloor stones that can effectively bind those with the ability of devil fruit are precisely because of this ingredient, so only those who can see the ability will die. But in Longcheng's memory, the consequences of being able to fall into the sea have always been a mysterious existence. For example, there have been rumors that after the devil fruit's ability person falls into the sea, the fruit's ability will be sealed, and the ability person will also lose all the ability of the fruit, and will also become a landlubber. In the original plot, Luffy fell into the sea many times and was rescued by Nami many times, but the ability of his rubber fruit was not banned because of this, but was weakened a little. During the war on the top, Marco completely lost the phoenix ability of the phantom beast species, the curling fruit, because of the sea tower stone. These two kinds of contradictions have always made Longcheng more and more suspicious. At this moment, after seeing the performance of Caesar Current with his own eyes, he understood the truth. After vomiting, Caesar Curon woke up from his confused consciousness in a trance, and just opened his eyes. He saw Longcheng standing in front of him alive. My God! Under the siege of the powerful navy of Sakazuki, Black Wrist Zephyr, Miss Ain, this guy in Moonlight Dragon City is still alive. Caesar Current would not say these words in front of such a person, but muttered them silently in his heart. However, every word and every sentence he said was clearly heard by Longcheng's domineering arrogance. Looks right. Longcheng said this. He immediately walked in the direction of Caesar Curran, and at the same time pulled out the opponent's longsword from Duke Inuarashi's waist. Lord, Master, what are you doing? Because he had just woken up, Caesar Current was very weak at the moment, let alone crawling, he couldn't even get the strength to stand up. I don't know if it was because of excessive panic, Caesar Current's lower limbs became very numb, unable to move. For a while, he only had a shocked expression on his face, and looked at Longcheng, who was walking towards him, tremblingly. Under the strong pressure of Longcheng, a famous member of the Naval Science Department, a mad scientist who also threatened to take on Vegapunk's Punk Hassad, was almost killed by Longcheng's face. Terrified shit. If it weren't for the immobility of his lower limbs, he would have wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy to Longcheng. That's right, the famous scientist, Caesar Current, was really scared to pee. Fortunately, there is still some odor on his body that has not yet dissipated, and the ground is full of puddles of seawater, so it is not easy to be detected. But some people with a keen sense of smell, for example, Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper, saw that the two of them suddenly made a small sigh, then narrowed their eyes, and immediately looking towards Caesar Current. 345. I don't dare anymore. At this moment, Longcheng had already walked up to Caesar. To be honest, whether it was him in the past or after crossing, it was the first time he had witnessed Caesar Current's repentant expression that he would cry at any time. Longcheng still can't forgive the other party for repeatedly abandoning everyone and running away. In order to subdue this kind of person, in addition to having absolute strength and sufficient patience, it sometimes requires a certain amount of training. And Longcheng believes that now is the time. Under the gazes of everyone, Longcheng raised his long sword without changing his face, and a cold light flashed in his eyes, which made Caesar Curran feel shivering. Lord, Master, I don't dare. Soon as the voice fell, Longcheng's eyes moved, and he immediately swung his long sword, and a burst of wind sounded immediately, and everyone only heard the swipe. A bang. He saw that Caesar Curran's head was still hanging on his neck, but a large clump of dark purple hair above his head was chopped off more than half by Longcheng's sword. At first glance at Longcheng, he always felt that it was very similar to the bald Caesar Current he imagined. Although it was not at that level, the bright side of the scalp has been revealed in front of everyone without any cover. Caesar, I will write down this crime of yours for the time being today, cut off your head, and give you one last chance to make a contribution to your crime. If there is another time, I will definitely cut off your head on the spot. Longcheng said with a solemn look on his face. He was actually a little fortunate. Fortunately, he didn't explain to the other party that he wanted Caesar Current to help with the arduous task of unraveling the bloodline factor map. Otherwise, with Caesar Current's temperament, after knowing that Longcheng wanted him, he definitely thought that Longcheng would not dare to do anything to him, and he might even use this matter to blackmail Longcheng. Master, from today onwards, I, Caesar Curon, are willing to spare no expense for you, to repay my master's grace of not killing. As soon as Caesar Current finished speaking, as if he had escaped from death, he burst into tears. He was better at scientific experiments than fighting with devil fruits, and he had a kind of weakness that a civilized person should have. This kind of weakness does not refer to the mentality of blindly fleeing in the face of danger, but a relative existence. In front of someone like Longcheng who kills and kills decisively, he can defeat 5, one case at a time. Showing mercy is already a very difficult thing. It is precisely because of this that Caesar Current feels lucky. After that, Duke Yinulan walked up to take back his sword from Longcheng, and reminded, "Young master, the top priority, we still have more important things to do." Although the fact that Caesar Current escaped has become an ironclad fact, the most important thing at the moment is to consider whether everyone should keep up with Sakaski, Black Wrist Zephyr and their ships to snatch the shock. Shaking fruit. This may be another big trap for the Navy. Big Brother Longcheng. Just when Longcheng was lost in thought, Luffy and his group arrived near the Iron Wall pirate ship in a blink of an eye. Longcheng also noticed at this moment that the red-haired pirate group seemed to have gone too far, presumably to balance the forces of all parties. No matter who the fruit of Junjun finally fell into, it would have a negative impact on the pattern of the entire world. Huge change. Luffy, Beasta, you all came here specially for your hard work. Without your help, I would probably fall into an endless struggle. Longcheng said gratefully. Where, Brother Longcheng? It's too boring for you to say that. Beasta was very relieved to see that Longcheng could live unharmed. Dad was right. Longcheng is likely to be the child of destiny who will bring drastic changes to the entire pirate world. Considering this, Beasta has already made a decision. After the search for Junjun fruit is over, when you go back to gather with everyone, you must discuss with them to protect the seedling of Moonlight Dragon City to a certain extent. Indeed, although Longcheng's current strength cannot be underestimated, he still needs to go through more severe tests and tougher trials in front of the 3 naval admirals, martial warring states, 4 emperors, Hokage and others. Longcheng, anyway, back then, everyone was on Dad's boat, drinking happily and talking heartily. In my eyes, you've long been like a real brother. Quote. Beasta said. Longcheng was slightly stunned, and almost, Poochie. A laugh came out. You must know, whether it is Longcheng before crossing or Longcheng after crossing, with Beasta's age, he can be the father of Longcheng. To be called a brother by such a big age, Longcheng does not know whether it is the right one. Admitting that he is old, it is still time to encourage Beasta to rejuvenate his youth. Considering that this is not the time to say this, Longcheng took back his joking smile and said seriously, Beasta, Luffy, what should you two do next? What to choose? Speaking of which, Longcheng, incidentally, wanted to tell Beasta, Luffy, Nami and the others honestly about his guesses and doubts just now. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 346. Mysterious Island. But at this moment, Longcheng suddenly noticed that Luffy's pirate ship seemed to be a little less crowded, and asked, Luffy, Sanji and Zoro, why are you the only one left, Nami still with Chopper? Luffy still kept his innocent smile as he should have, and said, oh, this, big brother Longcheng, Sanji and the others were assigned to another group by me, so I and Nami can only come. What is assigned to another group? Do you have other tasks? Longcheng asked as if he could understand but not understand. Beasta explained, it's like this, Longcheng, before we acted together with the red-haired pirates, we had considered the time it would take, so everyone agreed that we should send a small team of not weak overall strength. Team, continue to follow the original route to find the location of the Junjun fruit. My pirate ship was borrowed by them for this reason. In fact, Beasta still has a slight complaint about this matter. Why did he have to use his boat? It was the giant ship that accompanied him for several years. The ship has become its own troubled brother. Unexpectedly, during the decisive battle between him and Bondewald, the hull was seriously damaged. Although it would not sink, Beasta felt more distressed than anyone else. Originally, I was thinking about how to repair it. You must know that the bigger the pirate ship, the greater the power. The cost of repairing it is sky high. Take Luffy's Wanli Sunshine as an example. Lancey spent at least 300 million Baileys to build a super new sail. You must know that the current reward value of Longcheng is only 1 billion Bailey. This astronomical figure is incomparable even if you add all the members of the Black Cat Pirates and the Orang Asli Pirates together. According to Longcheng, the pirate ship of Bista is worth at least about 200 million to 300 million Baileys. Its power system is not inferior to the Wanli Sunshine made by French. Back to the present. When Longcheng heard from Luffy and Bista that they had dispatched a team to continue searching for the fruit, the whole of Longcheng was stunned, and their faces turned pale. Because this means that only he hadn't stepped into the road to snatch the fruit by himself, but Luffy, Bista, Redhead, they already had their own companions, and they were acting for them. Suddenly, Longcheng only felt a bleak cold wind blowing around, and then he said to everyone on the ship with disgust, "Let's all set sail. No matter what, we must find the fruit of the shock, and we must not let it fall into the hands of the Navy." Yes. Instant, Longcheng's mouth evasion effect played an invisible role, and the people drove the pirate ship in an orderly manner, moving quickly towards the fourth island. Longcheng doesn't want to be teased in the future, it will end before it begins. Thinking of such a picture, he couldn't bear to look directly. "Hey, Longcheng, wait for us." At the same time, Nami, Luffy and Bista are also closely behind Dragon Castle. At this time, at the stern of the red pirate ship that was sailing fast, the red hair turned around inadvertently, and in the distant sky, the shadows of several familiar pirate ships faintly appeared. The redhead smiled lightly, showing an expression of admiration, and said to himself, "Moonlight Dragon City, you have never disappointed me, I look forward to your next performance." From the redhead's point of view, the most noteworthy person in this Navy's casting operation is Moonlight Dragon City, except a few squad leaders from the Whitebeard Pirates. A pirate who has repeatedly escaped from the Navy and created miracles again and again. A secluded dark island. Due to the very special geological relationship here, it has been covered with clouds all year round, making the whole island look like an island of dead souls. On the island, more than 80% of the area is covered by a dark green tree species, and vines can be seen everywhere. No matter who landed here, the first impression would be that this must be an abandoned useless island, so there is no it has been developed and used by major organizations one after another. At this moment, a wide-bodied, dark-skinned, slightly sloppy pirate staggered up from the shore of the island. "Abominable Navy, abominable pacifist, when I fully develop the abilities of the dark fruit, I will definitely seek revenge from you one by one." Helpless, the person who spoke was Blackbeard, Marshal Titch. Just 10 minutes ago, for some unknown reason, a huge storm suddenly blew up on the sea, causing everyone in the Blackbeard Pirates to be unaware and a little panicked. Not only that, but he is also, very unfortunately encountering a naval warship headed by Kizaru. Originally, Blackbeard did not pay attention to such things as Kizaru, but under the huge storm, he was unable to be distracted. To deal with the yellow ape. What's more, there are more than a dozen pacifists on Kizaru's boat. 347. Kizaru's Science Unit. A big storm with sweeping power attacked the sea area within a few kilometers of this island, as if to swear the sovereignty of the sea area to everyone who passed by. In this way, under the dumping of several huge waves, Blackbeard's pirate ship almost sailed. As for Kyabu, the Navy's warships are made of special materials. Under the warships, there are also a large number of heavy sea towers, which can not only defend against the attacks of the Sea Kings, but also keep the center of gravity of the warships stable. Compared with the pirates' ships are less likely to capsize. Hurry up, don't let the Blackbeard pirates run away. Kizaru, who has always followed ambiguous justice, suddenly became anxious when he saw Blackbeard's pirate ship getting further and further away from them under the storm. Fortunately, at this time, the pacifists who are humanoid weapons, immediately after receiving the order of Kyabu. He fixed his eyes on the pirate ship 100 meters away. Transcendent laser. Immediately, more than a dozen human-shaped weapons opened their mouths in anger, revealing the precise instruments inside the pill, as well as the cannon muzzle that gave an extremely cold feeling. Launch! With a cry from behind, a huge laser light wave burst out from the mouths of a dozen people, and at the same time, it merged together, greatly enhancing its attack power and destructive power. The tall and burly man standing behind them, holding a giant double-bladed axe, was Kizaru's proud subordinate, the captain of the Naval Headquarters Scientific Unit, Zon Taomaru. You must know that Kizaru and Akainu have also heard some rumors from the upper ranks of the Navy. Regarding the position of the marshal candidate, he also did not say anything about it, but he was thinking about it in his heart. Just that since he was separated from his teacher, Blackwrist Zephyr and the others, as the head of the Naval Science Unit, he had no choice but to lead humanoid weapons and wander around several islands that he had always considered suspicious. Just when he had some doubts about his own judgment and was about to explore the last island, which was also the most suspicious one, less than a minute after entering this sea area, he encountered a huge storm that became more and more dangerous. This island is not the deepest island among the dozen islands announced by the Navy, but the most hidden island. Unless there is a map, or satellite, or a positioning navigator, it is extremely difficult to find its existence. Once the compass and the nautical needle are close, there will be a violent deviation. Even some navigators with decades of sailing experience, it is very easy to lose their way and lose their way. Although the Navy disclosed the location of the fruit of the earthquake in the newspaper, it did not explain in detail the exact location and direction of the dozen or so islands. After all, this sea area belongs to the wind belt, and the depths of the sea are full of all kinds of sea kings, which is the most taboo place for devil fruit people to come. Moreover, this place is not under the control of a certain major force, so even the Navy only knows about the specific conditions of the dozen or so islands. The closer they approached the island, the darker purple clouds in the sky gathered more and more, and sometimes there were thunders the size of the mouth of a bull. The up and down swings of the waves at sea are also getting bigger and bigger. During the entire process of advancing, the naval warships led by Kizaru swayed left and right, and did not dare to speed up at all, for fear of being overturned by the waves. It was not until they arrived at a position less than 100 meters from the island that they suddenly encountered the Blackbeard pirates who were also in danger. When Kizaru saw them was love and hate. Love is because he knows very well that almost everyone in the Blackbeard pirates is the most sinful prisoner who escaped from the city. You must know that the prisoners who can be detained on the 6th floor of the advanced city are either extremely vicious or powerful enough to make the naval headquarters and even the world government fearful, so they have to completely suppress the other party. The hatred is because of this damn big storm. What is the reason for it to be so weird? It blows the fat in the mouth of the Blackbeards farther and farther. Ho ho ho, what a terrible guy. Kazuna unconsciously showed a funny look, and also said his catchphrase. In fact, he knew better than anyone how terrifying the strength of the prisoners on the 6th floor of the city was. However, none of these did not affect the obsession of Kizaru, who was the 3 major generals of the Navy and the chief officer of the scientific force. As long as he can capture all the people on the ship, the position of the marshal candidate is definitely just around the corner. Boom. Instant, an ultra-wide laser with a diameter of 7 meters hit the ship of the Blackbeard pirates in the blink of an eye. But in the next second, Kizaru couldn't help but raised his eyebrows and saw some heresies. The pacifist's powerful laser was so fast that it was impeccable, but it still failed to penetrate the pirate where Blackbeard was located. Boat. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 348. Level 6 Hungry Wolf. At this moment, what caught the eyes of Kizaru and the dozen or so human-shaped weapons behind him were a pile of Navy warships that had been crushed into a shriveled appearance. These battleships are all made of steel and iron frames, which are extremely defensive and can resist most physical attacks. Kizaru to imagine is how the Blackbeard pirates managed to transform at least 5 or 6 battleships out of thin air in such a short period of time, as miraculous as a big transformed ship. Without knowing it, it is really only possible to use magic. Two words to describe it are more appropriate. Oh, is that so? Suddenly, Kizaru noticed the Blackbeard who was standing on the bow at the moment, and saw the other party smiling arrogantly and sickly, straightening his waist at the bow, as if he was not afraid of Kizaru and others at all. The most strange thing about Kizaru is that the black chi in Blackbeard's hands. What is the strange black energy? Could it be the ability of the opponent's devil fruit? Liberation. This is a special ability of the dark fruit, which can release all the substances that he has inhaled into the darkness in large quantities to the surrounding. With the sturdiness of the wreckage of the naval warship, he helped the Blackbeard pirates successfully block the laser cannon attack of the humanoid weapons. As for the fact that Blackbeard has a devil fruit, Kizaru had already expected, otherwise, how could Blackbeard dare to forcibly break into the Push City? And he even went deep into the most dangerous one in one breath, and even took one of them safely away. If the big gang of prisoners didn't have top-notch strength, Kizaru really didn't believe that Blackbeard could have the courage to not be afraid of death. At this time, for some unknown reason, the wind and waves on the sea were larger than they were a few cents before. Every time everyone on the boat swings up and down, the distance is even close to 2 meters. Perhaps it was the reaction force of the dark fruit that caused Blackbeard to vomit for no apparent reason, so he hurriedly lay on the side of the boat and vomited a few mouthfuls. But at this time, a giant sea king with a length of more than 20 meters, which looks like a whale, opened its bloody mouth, and the rows of sharp teeth in its mouth let out cold air, as if it was about to suffocate the Blackbeard. Drop. At the moment of crisis, as a crew member, Abaro couldn't help but feel ecstatic. He has always wanted to compete for the captain's position. Now it seems that it is the right time for anyone who dares to bear a beard to wait for the death of Blackbeard. One will solve that person. Of course, some of the members of the ship, all sly and cunning, naturally saw Abaro Pizarro's face at a glance, and they were thinking about whether to save Blackbeard. It's so uncomfortable, I'm going to be late. Suddenly, an incomparably gigantic body protruded out of the sea. After seeing it, Huang Yuan couldn't help holding his breath and sighed, that guy. Isn't that the long-rumored San Juan Evil on the 6th floor of the Push City? Wolf ________. Soon as the San Juan Evil Wolf appeared, he slapped the huge Sea King with a palm, a seemingly simple action, but made the Sea King let out a scream of pain. Wow! Give me quiet. Sea Kings could fly far. The San Juan Evil Wolf lifted up 2 of the crooked warships floating in front of the pirate ship, and threw them at the Sea Kings as if they were teaching a beast. Of course, the direction that the Neptunes flew to was also the location of the Kyaburo Navy. When they all realized that the situation was getting worse, more than a dozen pacifists opened their mouths again, but this time, they were stopped by Kyabu. You humanoid weapons don't have enough power control, you have to be like me. Fell. Kizaru bowed slightly, then jumped violently, used the moon step, placed himself in the sky higher than the Sea Kings, and said to himself, have you been kicked by the speed of light? Kiwi, who was located at a high place, saw that the huge Neptune was about to rush in front of him, but he was not afraid, showing a slight seriousness, raised his shining right foot, and moved at a very fast speed. Kick at the Sea Kings. Boom. Instant, there was a muffled sound in the air, and the vertebrae of the Sea King was directly kicked off by the yellow monkey. Although the whole body was heavy, it could fly straight back to the Blackbeard Sea with the blessing of the speed of light of the yellow monkey. The ship of the pirate ship. Because the speed was too fast, this time, the San Juan Evil Wolf had no time to react. Under the impact of the Sea Kings, the pirate ship was severely damaged, and was also ejected 100 meters away. Kizaru's eyes narrowed, staring at the pirates who fell from the boat, and counted them carefully. 10 or so, I don't know who they are. I hope the prisoners on the 6th floor are also in there. Immediately, at the signal of Kizaru, the Navy immediately continued to move forward, and at the same time sent people in wooden diving suits to go into the sea to find which pirates have fallen. 349. The Mystery of Whitebeard. According to the information obtained by the Navy, most of the pirates on the Blackbeard Pirates are almost all devil fruit capable, so Kayaburu is not worried that they will have the strength to escape in the sea. However, perhaps because of the fierce battle just now, not only did their warships deviate from the original course, but also the distance between them and the island was further increased by 80 to 90 meters, but also began to gradually gather in the sky. More and more dense dark purple strange clouds. Near the fourth island. With the full pursuit of Longcheng, Duke Inuarashi and others, they finally caught up with the Redford of the red-haired Shanks. Zephyr and the others, who were still tens of meters ahead and continued to speed up, they had no intention to pay attention to Longcheng, and Shanks, as the four emperors, was not something they could manage. Simply, I had no choice but to bypass Longcheng for a while and grab the Junjun fruit first. Just as Longcheng's pirate ship and Shanks' Red Force were going head-to-head, Longcheng stood up from the deck, walked to the side of the ship, and asked the red-haired Shanks who looked at him, "Shanks, do you have some secrets about shock fruit?" Longcheng always believes that the relationship between Shanks and Whitebeard must be very deep, otherwise, in the original plot, how could the other party risk offending the Navy, or even the world government, to rescue Whitebeard and Luffy, etc. Pirates. You must know that that day was Ace's public execution day. Anyone who helped the pirates and prevented the Navy's execution would be regarded as accomplices of the pirates. Once caught, they would be severely punished. Not only that, during the few meetings between Longcheng and red-haired Shanks, it can be seen that the relationship between the other party and Whitebeard is very good. No matter what, they are also four emperors. 1. Each other's status and strength are almost in the same realm, and it is normal to cherish each other. When Shanks asked what Longcheng said, the original appreciative smile disappeared and turned into a serious expression. "Looks like I got it right, Shanks, you know something about Whitebeard, don't you?" Longcheng smiled calmly. Fortunately, Vista is no longer on their ship at the moment. Otherwise, the red-haired Shanks will definitely break the casserole and ask to the end. Hey, big brother Longcheng seems to be chatting with Shanks. At this time, Luffy was not far away, but the two of them couldn't hear what Long and Shanks were saying. Yes, it's such a time, are they still in the mood to chat? Nami also glanced at it and said in surprise. Vista is on the boat and continues to maintain it. He just wants to bring the Junjun fruit back to each team as soon as possible, and then everyone will choose the person with the most potential and the most trustworthy person to take over the position of the next captain. If the Whitebeard pirates never recovered because of Whitebeard's death, I believe this is the last thing Whitebeard wanted to see before his death. This is also the unanimous opinion of the 13 captains of the Whitebeard pirates, so they will send Vista, Marco, Jose and others to come to find and snatch the fruit. Vista didn't care about what exactly Dragon City and the red-haired Shanks were talking about at this time. Seeing that the red-haired Shanks hadn't replied to himself, Longcheng turned and said, "Why Shanks, do you want to keep silent or don't know how to tell me the truth?" After pondering for a long time, the red-haired Shanks slowly closed his eyes, turned his back, and said as he walked, "Longcheng, use your moon steps to come to my boat, and then come with me." After saying that, Shanks walked straight to the direction of the cabin. Longcheng only felt that the situation might not be as simple as he thought, so he couldn't help being curious. After telling everyone to act according to the opportunity, Longcheng moved, simultaneously performed shaving and moon steps, and instantly appeared in front of the cabin door of the Redford. At this time, the red-haired Shanks had also walked in, and Longcheng did not hesitate, stepped into the cabin, and walked down the wooden ladder leading to the bottom one by one. It wasn't until the two of them came to an indoor fighting arena with an area of more than 90 square meters and a relatively wide field of vision that Shanks saw no one around, and then explained in a serious tone, "Longcheng, although I don't know why you can always make some unexpected actions or words, but I always believe that you will bring different earth-shaking changes to the pirate world today." "Well, I'll take it, you're complimenting me," Longcheng said jokingly. Red-haired Shanks immediately returned to business and said, "I did hear some rumors about the Whitebeard thing. I hope you can keep your mouth shut about it after you know it. You can rest assured about this. Even if I don't have the ability to reach the sky in Moonlight Dragon City, I can still do it by keeping my promise. Longcheng guarantees. Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 350. Dad's entrustment. If it was someone else, the red-haired Shanks really wouldn't believe it easily, but if it was Dragon City, he was willing to believe it. Perhaps it was because of Longcheng's rhetoric after killing the Tianlong people, or because he did not hesitate to forcibly break into the city in order to save Jinping, or perhaps it was because he created miracles that were almost impossible to happen again and again. Whitebeard, probably not dead. Words came out, Longcheng's eyes widened slightly, but soon, this stunned color gradually disappeared. Of the red-haired Shanks was indeed within the range of his guess. After all, although Whitebeard is old and has always claimed to be a remnant of the old era, no matter how bad it is, he is still a person with the ability to shake the fruit. With a casual punch, he can destroy an island. Such a terrifying force, especially it means to die. You must know that Longcheng, who knows the original plot of One Piece, knows very well that Whitebeard has the strength to destroy Marin Fando, where the naval headquarters is located, in the top battle with a few punches. Such a powerful person, even if the 3 generals combined, plus the Black Wrist Zephyr, may not be able to beat him. Since Whitebeard is not dead, why did the Navy fabricate the news of Whitebeard's death out of thin air? Aren't they afraid of Whitebeard's sudden appearance and slaps the Admiralty headquarters in the face? What's more, this matter also involves Whitebeard's reputation. With Whitebeard's strong personality, he will definitely fight to the end with the Navy for this matter, even if he will seriously offend the world government. Longcheng calmly analyzed. At this moment, Longcheng asked in astonishment, unless Whitebeard is trapped by the Navy. There is no way to escape, so the Navy dares to announce this fake news so openly. Not unreasonable for Longcheng to say this. The first thing to be sure is that Whitebeard is indeed seriously ill and his combat power has dropped sharply. It will be difficult to defeat him, but that doesn't mean that he can't use some kind of conspiracy to deceive him. Once the means are successful, the Navy can use the Sea Tower Stone to control the Whitebeard, and at that time, the Whitebeard will naturally be unable to escape. However, Longcheng thinks that it is unlikely that the Navy of Shang Justice will take on this kind of task. If the world government wants to deal with a person or eradicate an organization, it can be a chess piece. When you want to act in the name of justice, the Navy is a good pawn. If you can't use justice as an excuse, the Navy can only put it aside and hand it over to other organizations. Such as the Don Quixote family who ruled all transactions in the underground world, King Shichibukai, scientific troops, etc. Longcheng remembers that in the original plot, the Navy was born under such circumstances. Actually, your thoughts are somewhat similar to mine, but what I want to say is that Whitebeard may not be dead, but he is probably not far from death. Red-haired Shanks said. By the way, Shanks, how did you learn that Daddy Whitebeard isn't dead? Longcheng asked curiously. No matter what, he also misses the happy time he spent on the Whitebeard pirate ship. It is more like a kind of care and help that only relatives can have. It is also the reason why Longcheng has come to Pirate World. For the first time since then, I felt a warm feeling inside. The red-haired Shanks turned around at this moment, facing Longyu, and continued, this has to start from the 5 days before the news of Whitebeard's death was announced by the Navy. That night, Whitebeard suddenly went to my territory, and he was alone. At first I thought he was just trying to catch up with me, but when I saw him, he asked to talk to me alone, and he needed to find a place where no one could hear him. Tell me something. Hearing this, Longcheng was slightly stunned, and suddenly 100,000 questions appeared in his heart. Why did Whitebeard want to say? Can the secret of the beard really be disclosed to Longcheng? To say whether Shanks trusts Longcheng or not, based on his understanding of Longcheng, he is bold, straightforward, decisive in killing, jealous of evil, and never leaves room for the Navy. Such a person, of course it's worth believing. What Shanks was worried about was that Longcheng would bring him danger because he knew the secret. After pondering for a few seconds, he He continued with a solemn expression, "So after that, I took him to my room, and then he told me the truth and told me that his time limit was very limited. Maybe it's coming soon. This is Trafalgaro, the power of the fruit of surgery, who said to him personally." Luo bluntly said that Whitebeard can't live for a month at most, so Whitebeard thought about it before deciding to put it on him in advance. All the storage places for the treasury, medicine pills and other materials were handed over to me along with the keys. When Longcheng heard this, he didn't show any surprised expression. This may be because Whitebeard didn't want to cause huge trouble and disaster to his pirate group. 351. The Fruit of Surgery. After all, if after his death, those who have offended the pirate group and the underground forces, and even the other two emperors who have been coveting his territory, will inevitably lead a large army to attack his pirate group at this time. Therefore, Whitebeard must take into account the overall situation, considering that among the opponents whose realm of strength can match him, there are only a few people who can be trusted, the red-haired Shanks, Sil Basrieli, etc. You must know that these people are all comrades in arms who were born and died together on the ship of Gul Roger, the Pirate King, and have revolutionary feelings that are incomparable to ordinary people. The heroic Whitebeard has a deep friendship with them. Sil Basrieli is the deputy captain on Roger's ship, and his strength is unknown, and the red-haired Shanks is an intern on Roger's ship. It's just that although Sil Basrieli is strong enough, he has long since retired, and he hardly asks about the facts, preferring to be a coding craftsman in the Chambord archipelago. Whitebeard was naturally reluctant to entrust such a dangerous matter to the Hades Rayleigh, but to the famous red-haired Shanks who had the world government as his backer. Thinking of this, Longcheng finally understood why Shanks said that Whitebeard might still be alive. The fact that Whitebeard suffers from a serious illness is no longer a secret to the outside world. Longcheng still clearly remembers that when he was on Whitebeard's boat, Marco gave Whitebeard a drop almost every day. They will also take each other away alone when Whitebeard's condition worsens. At this point, Longcheng once also introduced the possible reasons for the existence of some of the contents of the original plot. After all, Whitebeard's hidden disease is not 1 or 2 days, it is a 3-point poison. He infusions like this all day long will only have an irreversible impact on his body and combat power. Thinking that Marco is the owner of the Phantom Beast Phoenix, and has the ability to regenerate quickly, maybe it is his method that has allowed Whitebeard to persist until today. As for Trafalgaro, maybe Marco's method has failed, so Whitebeard will be a dead horse and a living horse doctor, and ask him. After all, most doctors in Trafalgar can't compare to the surgical fruit. This is a type of devil fruit that seems to be tailor-made for doctors. Even if it is, I really want to snatch it. Maybe others don't know it, but they are very familiar with the original script of Sea World, but they know the power of the surgical fruit. This is a super fruit that is very likely to give him an immortality worth 5 billion Baileys. If even Luo said that Whitebeard can only survive for a month at most, I'm afraid no one can save him. At the beginning, when Longcheng left the Whitebeard pirates, he thought of going to Twin Points to find Kurokas, who was famous all over the world many years ago and worked as a ship doctor under the pirate king Gul Roger. But he never thought that before he could find someone, Whitebeard's life was dying. However, Longcheng also thought that if Kurokas really had a way to cure Whitebeard, then Whitebeard should have seen him long ago. According to Longcheng's memory, it seems that Whitebeard and Kurokas have no old grudges, and it is impossible to be reluctant to shoot. Either he has forgotten the original plot, or the current pirate world, after the appearance of Longcheng, happened. A series of domino changes. After learning the secret about Whitebeard from the red-haired Shanks, Longcheng turned around to leave without saying a word. The red-haired Shanks was slightly surprised and asked, "Dragon City, where are you going?" Would make a statement after hearing about this, but who knew that the other party didn't say a word, turned his head and left. He is really a guy who doesn't play cards according to common sense. Perhaps, it is precisely because of this reason that Longcheng escapes from the hands of the Navy many times. Even Sakaski, who is the most potential marshal among the 3 generals of the Navy, has nothing to do with Longcheng. Longcheng stopped, and said bluntly, "I just hope that the white-bearded father can be safe and sound, and when we get to the place where he is imprisoned as soon as possible, this time, I will definitely try my best to save him." After speaking, Longcheng walked out of the indoor training ground. After hearing Longcheng's response, the red-haired face rose again, revealing a delighted smile. All crew members obey orders. After Longcheng returned to the Iron Wall Pirates, his expression became very serious, and he couldn't help but make Monet, Duke Inuarashi, the shopkeeper of Cat Viper and others wonder what the red-haired Shanks said to Longcheng. "Everyone, this is the first time I've given an order as a captain. No matter what, we must get ahead of the Navy and grab the shocking fruit. Even if we don't get it, we must not let the Navy take advantage. Go full speed now." Longcheng shouted loudly. All the crew members were extremely excited, and the speed of the ship was gradually increasing, slowly surpassing the red-haired pirate ship, and after a while, even Luffy, Nami and others wanted to catch up. All appears to be powerless. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 352. Movement on the island. The shore of the strange island. The ragged Blackbeard stayed where he was, facing the sea and the reef in front of him, scolding furiously for half an hour, until he couldn't swear any more, and he had no words, and his mood eased a little. The first time he has made such a big fire since he obtained the ability of the dark fruit. Not only the Kiwi, the pacifist, the 18th generation of the ancestors of Zontaomaru have scolded it, but even the one who attacked them. All the Sea Kings were scolded by him. Because he lost contact with his companions, he didn't even have a phone bug on his body, and for a while, he didn't know how to find them. I hope they won't be so weak that they can be easily cleaned up by the gang of Kiwis. In any case, there are at least 3 criminal prisoners who escaped from the infinite hell on his pirate ship. One is the murderer Ryuki of the Rain, the other is the old gunner Abaro Pizarro, and the other is the company. The Navy was shocked, and the outside world called it a huge ship. The San Juan Bad Wolf. These 3 people have a combat power that is completely comparable to that of a Navy admiral, and each of them has made the entire pirate world terrified. If Longcheng learned about this, he would definitely misunderstand. Xuanyu Hunter. Where did Catherine Diame go? In fact, because of the appearance of Dragon City, she also got the 9-tailed fox, the devil fruit, the phantom beast, so in this pirate world, there is no such thing as Catherine Diame. After arguing for a long time, Blackbeard saw that there were thunderstorms in the sky covered with dark clouds. Presumably it was going to rain, so he wanted to find a place to hide first. So, Blackbeard jogged along the depths of the lush jungle. Then, jogging, it is better to say that this is the fastest speed of Blackbeard. Although he has obtained the superpower of the dark fruit, he is still a major weakness in terms of size and physical skills. Ha ha. Ha ha. Blackbeard buried his head all the way and went straight, not knowing how long he had run, let alone how far he had run, but he just felt that there seemed to be a small drop of water in the sky, and it began to fall on him. At first, Blackbeard thought it was just ordinary rain, and he was very concerned, but as he ran, he inexplicably noticed that the energy in his body that was used to trigger the power of the devil fruit was gradually becoming thinner and thinner. Impossible. What happened and why did this happen? Could it be that I was just immersed in the sea water? Didn't I also get knocked back to the shore by the waves? It stands to reason, just wait for this. After the seawater has evaporated cleanly, my strength will slowly recover. How can it be for nothing? Even my physical strength is weakening. Just as Blackbeard became more and more puzzled, suddenly, a flash of light flashed in his mind, and he exclaimed, could it be? Is this the rain? At this moment, Blackbeard discovered another strange phenomenon. The raindrops that dripped from the sky were not the kind of raindrops that were usually seen. Transparent like beads, but a strange purple rain. These rainwater also contains the elements of consciousness in the sea tower stone, which can impose certain restrictions on those with the ability of the devil fruit. This kind of rain falls every half an hour, and the deeper into the center of the island, the shorter the time, the higher the frequency of rain, and the greater the rain. This is mainly because in the central area of the island, there are 3 active volcanoes that erupt irregularly but very frequently. Under the action of the volcanic eruption, most of the particles are turned into very light, but very hard, strong sea of clouds. It is the special components in these clouds, which are attracted by the foreign clouds, which in turn act as the medium, and drop a large amount of rainwater containing similar components on the island. No, if I stay on this island for too long, if I encounter the Navy, I'll be completely screwed. Recalling that he was on the Whitebeard pirate ship, pretending to be stupid for so many years, and now he finally has the opportunity to become the superior he has been waiting for a long time in his heart. That is to replace Whitebeard and become one of the 4 new emperors of the sea, and he is also the strongest and the most unmatched one. For this day, Blackbeard has endured so hard for so many years, how could he let his dream be shattered? This is one of the reasons why he can be so powerful. However, just when Blackbeard was about to return to the shore and try to escape from the island, suddenly, a sound of fighting came from the depths of the dark forest. Whitebeard. 3 words. It's strange that the Junjun fruit is on this island. Realizing this, Blackbeard decided to take a risk to find out. If the fruit of Junjun really is on this island, and it happens to pass him by accident, Blackbeard will definitely feel deeply for this. Regretful. Gradually, the sound of fighting in the depths of the jungle became more and more intense, and Blackbeard immediately guessed that it seemed that someone had already landed on the island before him. 353. 2 suspicious people. And those people seem to be in conflict over something, and they are fighting. The more Blackbeard thought about it, the more wrong he was. He was worried that the Junjun fruit had been taken by some unidentified guy who stepped on the shit. Fast speed, running all the way forward. After about 10 minutes, Blackbeard breathed heavily and stopped near the source of the sound. All he could hear was that the fighting between the 2 sides was obviously not as intense as it was at the beginning. According to Blackbeard's judgment, either the winner or the loser has already been decided, or there are very few people who have survived and can continue to fight. This kind of opportunity is exactly what Blackbeard means. The so-called snipe and clam fight, and the fisherman wins, probably means this. Blackbeard burst into ecstasy in his heart, and then looking for the voice, he came to the 2 waves of people. Cut. I thought it would be a powerful navy or pirate, but it turned out to be just a bunch of ordinary fishermen. Blackbeard showed a look of disgust at the moment, obviously not interested in these guys. What caught his eye was a group of middle-aged fishermen consisting of 5 people and 5 people, and another. A group of elderly fishermen consisting of 6 people and 6 people. 2 sides were separated by a distance of 70 to 80 meters, and they kept shooting each other with guns. As those who are not capable, the threat of guns and ammunition to them is enough to see life and death. But having said that, Blackbeard felt that if the person who got the shock fruit was a pirate or a navy, most of them had eaten a one devil fruit, so even if they grabbed the shock fruit, they would have nothing to do with it. If you want to use it, you can at most use a sky-high figure to sell it and make a big profit. You know, this kind of industry abounds in the world of pirates, just as when Longcheng got the phantom beast of the 9-tailed fox from Whitebeard. Whitebeard once said that the phantom beast of the 9-tailed fox, although it is rare, but its combat power is average. If Longcheng wants to sell it, Whitebeard will not object. At least by virtue of the rarity of the phantom beasts, it should be able to be auctioned for about 1 billion to 1.5 billion Baileys. In contrast, these non-devil fruit old fishermen are more likely to become the biggest enemies in the future. So, the corner of Blackbeard's mouth twitched, revealing a sly smile, and asked, Hey, can you stop and listen to my last sentence? Immediately, the 2 groups of people seriously responded to Blackbeard's words, and suddenly stopped shooting, and their faces were slightly startled, and turned to focus on the sloppy, disgusting man not far away. What I want to ask is, this island is so weird, don't you have a trace of fear? Why don't you run away as soon as possible, but stay here and attack each other's comrades? The reason why Blackbeard would say this is that they were defeated based on what they wore, and how loud they shouted at each other when they were fighting. In addition, Blackbeard didn't want to tell the real purpose of his coming here, so as not to cause the siege of the two gangs. Although in his opinion, even if these guys were 10 times more numerous, they would definitely not be his opponents, but let Blackbeard be happy. In front of him, he will only feel that he and his fruit ability are too cheap. Obviously, judging from the corpses lying on the ground, the middle-aged fishermen suffered the most casualties. It seems that those old boatmen have great shooting power and eyesight. Humph! What are you joking with your companions? For something you have never even heard of, you dare to come here secretly. This strange island caused all of us to follow you to this island. We are not greedy either. As long as you are willing to give us half of what you get, we will leave intuitively. At this time, a leading middle-aged man wearing a skull cap, holding a shotgun, as if ready to shoot at any time, said, "Bah, you guys don't know what other people are, and we don't know. If we give you half of it, you will definitely open your mouth and swallow all our income. We won't be your dog. What's more, it's because of your gang of stupid fellows that we lose our target, and you must take full responsibility for this." A tall, sturdy, pale-headed old man with a height of 1.8 meters, also holding a shotgun, hid behind a big tree, for fear of being framed by those people with some tricks. His tone and expression were extremely nervous. "What, did you miss the target?" Blackbeard muttered to himself. After listening to their conversation, Blackbeard couldn't help but be astonished. What they mentioned in their mouths was something I have never heard of. Could it be he has been looking forward to the long-awaited shaking fruit, too? I just want to ask you a word, if the thing you said is the shaking fruit. "It's not Blackbeard's character to be around the bush," he said very bluntly. 354. Because Blackbeard's tone was too arrogant, and even more threatening and unreasonable, it instantly angered the two gangs of fishermen. Although a small number of people think that a big man like Blackbeard should be difficult to deal with, but after all, it is only a minority, and in this case, the minority often obeys the majority. Immediately, two groups of people 7 or 8 meters apart, a total of 11, 2, and 111 people, were all facing Blackbeard, ready to shoot at any time. Hey hey hey. However, Blackbeard not only showed no fear, but instead let out an extremely wild and weird smile, which made the fishermen present feel uncomfortable when they heard the bone-piercing sound. "Cut, dirty and disgusting things, kill me." A middle-aged man with a mustache on the left side pulled the trigger without hesitation and fired at Blackbeard. Shocked, Blackbeard immediately stretched out his hands, and a large swirling black air emerged from the palm of his hand. Second later, everyone remembered when they heard a gunshot, but saw that the guy in front of him was still alive and well, standing in front of them alive and well. "Hey hey hey, how do you know how good I am now?" Blackbeard's 2 rows of incomplete white teeth were tightly closed at this moment, revealing a proud face. "What is your ability? Let's shoot. Shoot this guy, he is an ability." The man with the mustache suddenly panicked, and while backing 6 or 7 steps, he called to his companion. Boom bang. Boom bang. Boom bang. Bullet came out of the chamber quickly, making a burst of alarming noises. Because the frequency of the continuous design was too fast, the bullet was shot out of the gun body with a little spark at the same time. Although under the restriction of Ziyu, the ability of Blackbeard's dark fruit has been greatly weakened, which led to the original desire to use dark blood. Killed all the people present, not a single one, but could only use such a small range, barely enough to protect himself, and squeezed all the bullets to 7, 9, 8, and absorbed them. But this scene, those fishermen naturally couldn't see it because the speed was too fast. The screams of gunshots continued one after another. It wasn't until a few minutes later, when everyone killed all the medicinal pills, that they finally stopped. However, it was even more inconceivable to them that that filthy and disgusting guy was still standing on the ground. The ground did not move, not even a frown, the body still stood in the original place, not moving a single bit. "Damn it! Run away for me! Great escape, he's only one person. it's impossible to catch us all. Mustache Man had a flash of inspiration and had a good idea. Everyone also felt that what he said was very reasonable, and they were about to run away in the direction of no one in front of them. Is it a pity it's too late? Release. As soon as he finished speaking, Blackbeard's hands were instantly enveloped by a mysterious black energy. He found that although he could not perform a wide range of moves, he was very sensitive to release. This trick seems to be very limited. Think carefully, release. Strictly speaking, it does not belong to a certain type of move with special destructive power, but releases all the substances originally sucked into the darkness by Blackbeard. Just like a prison full of prisoners, once the door is opened, there will be a large crowd of people. Just when everyone was about to flee, suddenly, in the position where Blackbeard was, several huge ships appeared inexplicably. Almost every one of them was more than 130 meters long. At first glance, a few more ships suddenly appeared in the air, attacking him, and everyone was shocked, as if they had seen the scene of hell, and could not avoid it. This is actually the Navy's medium-sized patrol ship. When Blackbeard forcibly broke into the advancing city, he sucked the ship and everyone inside into the darkness. The person who is sucked in, as long as Blackbeard is willing, the other party will not want to come out of the darkness. What's more, the living people who were squeezed and deformed by the darkness could not survive in the darkness. Boom boom boom. The 5 distorted and deformed medium-sized patrol ships fell from the air to the ground together, crushing 78% or 78% of the people to death. The rest of the survivors were also seriously injured. How could it be a naval battleship? How could it be in the hands of a pirate? After seeing the Navy logo on the boat, the mustache man's face turned earthy, apparently accepting the facts in front of him, waiting for a straightforward solution from his opponent. Blackbeard came to the man with a mustache and said with a grin, "I will only ask once. If your answer is satisfactory to me, I will let you go, otherwise, you will, unlike the rest of your comrades, you will die without a place to be buried." What are you giving them all? The mustache man's heart suddenly tightened. For some reason, he could only clench his teeth and clench his fists, but he couldn't do anything. Of course, Blackbeard knows that the other party wants to take revenge, but what can he do if he wants to? To read the underlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu's novel. 355. Whitebeard's whereabouts. Weakness means weakness, so he can only be slaughtered by others. It is just right. Just ask an ant, no matter how lofty its ambitions are, it can still rival a giant elephant with Blackbeard. Seeing that the other party remains silent, he asks with a smile, "The question I want to know is actually very simple. As long as you tell me, it will be shocking. If Zhenguo is on this island, I will spare your life." After hearing the other party's words, the mustache man frowned immediately, his face sank, and responded, "Yes, what you want should be in the center of this dense forest. Yesterday, we were because he accidentally lost him. It caused infighting, and in one anger, he killed many of his comrades." The more he listened, the more confused the Blackbeard became. It should be said that he couldn't understand a sentence, and immediately asked, "Why did he lose the Junjun fruit and run away on his own? I think you think I can't kill him. That's why you pretended to be crazy in front of me and fooled me with some fake news." After Blackbeard finished speaking, his right hand once again used a small scale, dark blood way. I saw a swirling black gas, once again appearing in his palm. No, I can swear to God that every word I say is true. Just yesterday afternoon, some old fishermen in our village wanted to go to the far sea to catch bigger fish and go back, so for safety reasons, they will gather more than a dozen people to go out at the same time, and we middle-aged fishermen, because their experience is far less than theirs, so they can only catch smaller fish and other fresh products in the offshore waters. It was at that time that I accidentally saw a man. The other party was standing alone in the bow of the boat, and he seemed to be the only one on the boat. After asking the old fisherman about the way, the other party also spent a huge amount of money and wanted to call him. They took him there together, You know, that's 5 million Baileys, and in our village, whoever has 5 million Baileys is the richest man. The old fishermen of our village, who have been catching fish in the far sea for decades, are more familiar with the islands near the far sea than their own family members. Although this trip is very dangerous, they are still attracted by such a huge amount of temptation. Resolutely agreed, and the place where the other party wants to come is this island. Under the panic, the mustache man almost finished his words in one breath. Didn't that person only hire old fishermen to lead the way? Why are you people here? Blackbeard found a loophole and questioned. Cough. Helpless, the man with the mustache wanted to hide it, but now he can only say it to save his life. I was in the offshore area at the time, and I was the first to discover the scene of the person trading with the old fisherman. I was in 2 years ago. I have always been the village doctor in the village, and I am very familiar with some incurable diseases. When I see that person's face is very wrong, I always feel that the other person will die at any time. So, I explained this to a few companions nearby. The companions thought that since the guy is so rich, why not let the old fisherman call some more people, maybe they can make more money, so we gathered a group of people, closely behind them. Man with the mustache continued, when we landed on the island, it was too dangerous, and several of us died. After we were hit by a huge wind and waves, we heard from the old fisherman that the guy was gone. After we learned of this, we were so angry that we almost chased after us, but the old fisherman also said that the other party might be the pirate overlord from far away, the owner of the long-rumored Junjun fruit, to persuade us to give up our mines. Owner of the tremor fruit. Blackbeard was very puzzled and asked quickly, the person you are referring to is not Whitebeard, right? Mustache man heard it. His face suddenly became shocked, because in his village, no one dared to directly name Whitebeard. Although the other party had never attacked their village, since they were pirates, most of them should be evil villains. What's more, the long-rumored Whitebeard is still these pirates who are like dragon heads, who would dare to offend easily. When we learned that the other party was that famous pirate, all the followers followed. My companions who came here are all blaming each other. After all, some of our companions died when we landed on the island. The mustache man said in horror. It's weird, isn't Whitebeard dead? Although Blackbeard had a surprised expression on his face, he was skeptical about what the person in front of him said. But then again, how did the Navy know about Whitebeard's death? He's not one of the 4 emperors. The site was discovered by the Navy and the body was discovered immediately. The most suspicious thing is that the Navy actually released such important information. 356. Sea War. Are they so confident that they can deal with all the pirates? Obviously, this move is extremely stupid in the eyes of Blackbeard. Looking at everyone in the entire naval headquarters, including the 3 generals, including the Warring States period, Blackbeard will not let go in the eyes. He just wanted to find the Junjun fruit as soon as possible. That's right. This guy just said that Whitebeard seems to be dying, that old thing is about to die, and he secretly came to such a dangerous place. He really doesn't know what to do. No, he must be old and confused. Yes, but it's better to die in such a place, at least no one can rob me. Blackbeard let out another sly laugh. At this moment, the man with the mustache was rolling and crawling trying to escape. This was something that Blackbeard had promised him before, and presumably the other party would not object. However, Blackbeard picked up a gun from the ground, bang. A bang, he killed the man without hesitation. 4. Why? The mustache man was shot. Afterwards, he fell into a pool of blood and said angrily. Humph, if you have to ask, I can only tell you, if you want to blame, you are too weak, and you can't escape until I'm sure what you said is true or not. So anxious. Blackbeard put away the gun and turned to leave. He changed his original mind, temporarily put aside the idea of finding a companion, and walked towards the dark place of the dense forest. Under the influence of this purple rain, he found that the power of the devil fruit has been weakening, and maybe at some point, this gun will still come in handy when he packs his white beard. After a long time, Near the 9th island, a large number of pirates are engaged in a massive battle with the navy. Coincidentally, around this island, there are also a large number of reefs, as well as 3 or 4 small islands with only more than 20 square meters. The navy and pirates have more places to stay, so they can naturally expand. Fist and kick, and the so-called enemy, start a more fierce battle. Few minutes later, the Iron Wall pirates of Longcheng happened to pass here at the moment, and he had to admit that even he was stunned by the scene in front of him. In terms of scale, it was not inferior to the war on the top. Many naval seas that are not suitable for fighting on board have disembarked and went to small islands or reefs to fight their opponents for life and death. The Iron Wall pirates are extremely fast, and under the helm of Sakuron, increase boat speed to maximum. At first, Longcheng wanted to intercept a naval battleship halfway. After all, the power system of naval battleships is very advanced, and the key is not to pay. But when he thought that Whitebeard could be in danger at any time, Longcheng had to look away from the nearby on one of the warships, moved back to the current route. But at this time, you don't go to cause trouble, but trouble comes to you. Frozen time capsule. Soon as the words fell, in Longcheng's mind, a person's name flashed subconsciously, Qingzi Kuzan. And Qingzi's target is not the pirate ship of Longcheng, nor the other people on the boat. His direct attack target is only Longcheng. Frozen time capsule is a speed-type move that shoots out the power of the frozen fruit in the form of a frozen air cannon, as fast as it is invisible. Master beware. When Duke Inuarashi saw the situation was not good, he immediately shouted. Longcheng moved his feet and displayed one of the 6 naval styles that he was best at, and then disappeared from the spot, and appeared behind Aokiji in the blink of an eye. So fast. Aokiji was shocked, and he also used his fastest shave to compete with Longcheng in speed. But in Longcheng's view, after his shave has been systematically strengthened by Jedi, it is impossible to compare to him with Qingzi's current 6th naval style. In 20 seconds, the two had fought for nearly 100 rounds. Sometimes Longcheng chased Qingzi, and sometimes Qingzi chased Longcheng, and they refused to give in to each other. Immediately, the two quickly separated, and Aokiji stepped on the air with his skillful moon steps, and looked down at everyone on the ship from the oblique sky above the ship. And Longcheng also flashed back to the deck at this time, staring at the green pheasant. Duke Inuarashi, the shopkeeper of the Cat and Pit Viper, let me hold the green pheasant for a while. The two of you will lead everyone to cross here first. I will catch up with you as soon as I finish solving the big trouble of Aokiji. Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper watched Longcheng grow up since childhood, and they could hear that when Longcheng said this, he was obviously not exaggerating. Maybe he really had a way to defeat Aokiji and then catch up. The two of them could respond. For a moment, Longcheng held his breath, and in an instant, under the action of shaving, he disappeared in place and came to the top of the boat. Such a biting sword energy, there is no doubt that it is that person. What Longcheng had in mind was the Eagle Eye, one of the 7 Wuhei under the king, known as the world's number 1 swordsman. Soren's future master, Jorah Kurmahawk. 357. World's number 1 swordsman. According to the current timeline, Zoro's apprenticeship with Jorah Kurmahawk should have happened after the battle with the tyrant Bartholomew. He was photographed because he was slapped by Bartholomew. On the island of Jorah Kurmahawk, considering that his companions were about to face a formidable opponent in the New World, Sauron decided to bow down to Hawkeye, the only and biggest opponent in his life. I have to say that when Longcheng remembered that scene at this moment, he still had an indescribable emotion, and he was obviously convinced by Zoro's spirit. At this time, Hawkeye, who was standing on his own coffin boat, was looking towards the direction of Longcheng with his face paralyzed. The Hawkeye's ship is completely different from the ships of most pirates and the warships of the Navy. Striking. To be honest, this is the first time that Longcheng has stood at a high place. Looking at the whole picture of the eagle-eyed coffin boat, if this scene is changed to before the time travel, he would not believe it. Hawkeye has always been a person who loves to be alone and go his own way. He has always maintained a paralyzed face from beginning to end. Whether it is joy or sadness, even in the original plot, when facing Soren's apprenticeship, he always has a faceless face. Color change, a real face paralysis with advanced cancer. Even with the world's strongest swordsman, won't accept anyone's good intentions easily, as if this reputation is not that important to him. So much so that he was the only one living in his entire castle on Kraigana Island. Ask if Jorakur Mahak is an extremely rational person, and the answer is yes, of course not. In Longchung's opinion, Jo Rachel Mahak's eccentricities should be known to everyone, at least in the Navy, and the last thing he likes is being woken up while he is sleeping. Once provoked, he and the other party will surely die. At this time, at the moment of crisis, Longchung suddenly locked his eyes on the strange-looking boat on the sea. He recognized the other's sharp eyes like a falcon at a glance, and those eyes could even give people an uneasy feeling. Hawkeye, you are not good at planting and picking vegetables on your island of Kraigana. Why do you come to such a place to disturb your tranquility, or say that you, who have always liked quietness, are willing to bow to the world government? Bow your head, even if this is a place that is extremely annoying to you, you have to come. Longchung laughed. Longchung didn't think that Hawkeye would be so irritated by him. In Hawkeye's eyes, whether it was the fame of the king's Chiwahai, the world's prestige, or the quiet and comfortable life alone was not what he really wanted. What Jorakur Mahak desires most is stronger kendo. To say whether Jo Rachel Mahak is blindly pursuing fame and power like Doflamingo. In the original book, when Hawkeye attended the Kibukai meeting, Doflamingo called it least likely to attend. Conceivable that in the depths of Jo Rachel Mahak's heart, he is not at all interested in what kind of power struggle. Although in Longchung's heart, there has always been a mystery that cannot be solved for the big man named Jo Rachel Mahak. If the two sides were not on a hostile position, Longchung would really want to ask him face to face. Why is he willing to submit to the Navy and the world government? Because of his strength and his uninhibited personality that likes to wander the world alone. Apparently it doesn't make sense to do so with his relatives and masters in the world government, or perhaps it was because he wanted to avoid all kinds of meaningless competition in the world of pirates, so he agreed to join the 7 Marshalseas under the king. But with the situation in front of him, Longchung could only recover from his thousands of thoughts, and stared at Qingzi and Chaolakur Mahak with all his attention. If you want to fight against them at the same time, you can't do it without showing 12 points of spirit. Longchung thought to himself. At this time, after hearing Longchung's words not far away, Jorakur Mahak was instantly furious, and his eyes became sharper, as if he could kill people. Noisy and annoying, give me some peace. Fell, I saw Jo Rachel Mahak pulled out the so-called world's strongest black knife, behind him without hesitation. The cross-shaped long knife. When Longchung saw this, he immediately be cautious. He knows better than anyone else that the knife is not simple, it is the strongest of the 12 supreme swords, and even the white-bearded Kong Yunchi is inferior. Immediately, Jorakur Mahak's face turned cold, and he swung the treasured sword in his hand from left to right, and hit a 10-meter-long dazzling sword with a strong sword. However, Longchung is the least good at using weapons, because the speed of that sword chi is extremely fast, almost approaching the speed of the 3 generals shaving. Longchung frowned and clenched his fists before he changed his mind. 358. Sea Encirclement. To fight Aokiji, Jorakur Mahak and the 2 of them to death. Have to admit that if he fights with one of them, Longchung has a high possibility of successfully escaping, especially in the battle with Qingzi. Under the same shave, he wants to get rid of Qingzi's pursuit. It can be said that he will not be able to escape at all. Effort. Now, he has to fight Aokiji and Jorakur Mahak at the same time. One is one of the 3 major naval admirals, and the other is the world's #1 swordsman. That Longchung can use at this moment is he is very familiar with the various abilities of the 2. At the critical moment, Longchung held his breath, changed into a 9-tailed fox state, and his body quickly grew larger. At this moment, Monet, who was already on the sailboat of the Iron Wall pirates in the distance, was flying over the ship. Monet, who was guiding everyone, accidentally saw Longcheng, who was in danger behind him, and couldn't help but get nervous. Apprehensive. Since it is almost a picture of artillery fire on the sea right now, even at a long distance, the sea channel in front of you is blocked by billowing gunpowder smoke. Although Monet really wanted to help Longcheng, everyone on board needed her to continue to lead the way. At this time, Duke Inulin, Feng Kele, Cat Viper and others also saw that Longcheng was fighting against Qingzi and Chao Lakir Mahak. It seemed that Longcheng seemed to be struggling. After rounds, it has been at a disadvantage. What should I do? His Highness is in a hard fight, should we support him? Feng Kele was a little confused and asked hastily. But I saw Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper fell into hard thinking, and in the end, Duke Inuarashi was the villain. After all, at such a time, if someone said not to save Dragon City, it would definitely be mistaken for an act of betrayal of Dragon City. Although everyone may not say it, but they also think so in their hearts. After all, Longcheng is 1 against 2, and those 2 opponents, each of which is a world-famous hegemonic powerhouse, can destroy a large group with the power of 1 person. For the pirates, it is normal for Longcheng to fall into a scorching battle. No, everyone must not turn around and go back. Duke Inulin stretched out his right hand without hesitation, motioning everyone to stop and turn the bow. Stinky dog, you. At this moment, Cat Viper was stunned, and came to Duke Inuarashi standing in front of him again, and said what Cat Viper wanted to say but couldn't say. At this moment, Cat Viper felt deeply guilty and fell into extreme self-blame, as if I feel that I owe Duke Inuarashi a great favor. Similarly, Duke Inuarashi's words also surprised Monet, Feng Kele and others. The crew members who were standing by on the deck to fight against the navy also showed all kinds of amazed eyes and looked at Duke Inuarashi. Immediately, Duke Inulan continued, Young Master Longcheng is here to save us, to buy me time to avoid the siege of the main navy, and to continue to search for the fruit of the shock. If we go back, we will definitely become the leader of the nearby navy. The target of the attack, the young master of Longcheng will not forgive us. The only thing we can do at this moment is, I believe that the young master can defeat Qingzi and Mahak. Not only can we go back, but we should leave at a faster speed. In such a dangerous place, try your best to avoid casualties and save your strength so that at the last moment, you can fight to the death with the navy. If Longcheng was on the boat at this time, he would definitely not be able to help write down every word that Duke Inuarashi said. He might not have imagined that Duke Inuarashi could be so convincing. Under the influence of his words, everyone looked at each other's companions, obviously not knowing what to do. At this moment, Cat Viper also stood up with a slightly condensed expression, and said, The stinky dog is right. Why did His Highness stay alone and fight against the powerful enemy to protect us, to find the fruit of shock? We must not fail such a good escape opportunity that His Highness has created for us, and we should do our best to leave this place of right and wrong first. Everyone did not expect that even the Cat Viper, who always challenged Duke Inuarashi on weekdays, was willing to stand up at this moment, maintaining an attitude of unanimous opinion with Duke Inuarashi. I also agree to move on. Suddenly, Monet flew down from midair and said bluntly. Her words immediately attracted the attention of the pirates around her. Although Monet was the Iron Arm pirates who followed Longcheng from behind, no matter what, she also had her own loyal fans on board. Since even Cat Viper, Duke Inuarashi, and Monet all said the same thing, more and more people on board responded. With everyone's concerted efforts, the speed of the ship has become faster than before. Who was fighting with Cholakir Mahak, glanced at the direction of the ship from the corner of his eyes, and the burden in his heart was relieved. What he was most worried about was Duke Inuarashi, Cat Viper and the others would suddenly turn back, causing everyone to fall into a hard fight. At that time, it will not be as simple as a life-and-death battle between him and Aokiji, Jorakir Mahak. 359. Black Knife Night. It is also possible that under the shelling of naval warships, the entire army will be wiped out. You must know that there are many other powerful naval forces hidden on this sea of smoke billowing. Big Fish appeared. Just like Longcheng. At first, Longcheng thought it was very strange, why as soon as he arrived, he appeared head-on with the two powerful opponents, Aokiji and Jolakurmahak. Of domineering, he came to know the true purpose of the Navy. They want to create an artificial gate here, and once they find a big fish approaching, there will be naval warlords with corresponding strengths to come out to meet the enemy. Deal with small fish. The Navy should want to use the method of catching turtles in the urn to close the net, but to deal with powerful pirates, they can only create encirclements and various traps in the most suitable place for sea raids to capture the pirates one by one. Even kill. Realizing this, Longcheng is more at ease with the safety of his companions. As for the other pirates who are caught in a deadly battle, it should be the Navy who took the initiative to provoke them in order to hide their eyes and ears. Right now, Longcheng thinks that the most important thing is to solve Jolakurmahak and Aokiji first. Ice Pheasant Mouth. When Longcheng had just regained his senses, he was hanging in the air when he suddenly heard the sound of Qingzi's attack coming from behind him. Due to the need for a large degree of concentration, Longcheng had to put away the absolute realm. Land feet are messed up. Immediately, I saw that Longcheng didn't. Evade and kicked in the air, and hit the blue pheasant with a blue air blade. Boom. Instant, two huge energies collided together, and the remaining force after the impact continued to spread, causing larger waves to sway on the unsettled sea, and some smaller pirate ships even capsized. Situation was critical, and Longcheng really didn't have the heart to worry so much. Although the shouts of those people could always be heard in his ears, he could only continue to fight the enemy in front of him. Black Knife, fast spin 12 workers. Shish. Longcheng could notice, Joramihawk shot again. Have to admit that the world's #1 swordsman, who is the head of the 7 Marshalseas under the king, really deserves his reputation. If Longcheng didn't have a certain understanding of the storyline before the time travel, he didn't know how many times he would die in front of Jolakurmahak. Whoosh. Just the blink of an eye, Longcheng used his fastest shave to avoid the strong blade aura. Yes, after fighting with Jolakurmahak several times, he can basically confirm one thing, that is, Hokage obviously has a weak defect in speed. After all, no one is perfect, and Jolakurmahak has been studying swordsmanship for decades. And swordsmanship, while neglecting the tempering of speed. However, although it is true to say so, Jolakurmahak's pair of falcon-like eyes and his lightning-fast air blade are enough to make up for this. Longcheng can only rely on the advantage of speed to avoid the attack of Jolakurmahak at a certain distance, but he cannot escape safely. Even if he wants to attack the opponent, he has to think twice. Because once he enters a certain range of vision of Hokage, he will become the target of his absolute slashing. According to Longcheng, few people can survive within that range. In the top battle of the original plot, Luffy just played tricks, thinking that he could use his speed advantage to pass Jolakurmahak, but he almost died on the opponent's night knife. Even the clown Baki was cut into pieces by Jolakurmahak. Jolakurmahak's move, without the slightest extra movement, seems to be a simple move, but it seems to contain endless power. You must know that with a single knife from Jolakurmahak, the huge iceberg made by the green pheasant can be chopped into pieces. 50 huge sails were cut in half, and everyone on board was wiped out. In addition, what Longcheng cares about most is that in the original play, Hokage has easily defeated Bondi Wald. Chop up. In that battle, judging by Longcheng, Hokage should have consumed 50% of his strength. And when Longcheng fought against Bondewald, it used at least 70%. Seen that there is still a considerable gap in strength between him and Hokage. Although Longcheng does not understand swordsmanship, he is very clear that as long as any move is practiced to a certain level, it will be simplified, so even if he is familiar with Jolakurmahak's ability, he can even avoid the opponent's attack. The Dragon City, at this moment, would never dare to be careless. However, Longcheng will not be afraid of Jolakurmahak because of this. On the contrary, he is a little emotional. 360. Rage and counterattack. because he had already thought of a way to deal with Jorakur-Mahak. Black knife, slash. Instant, Chalakur-Mahak's eyes narrowed, and with his incomparably sharp eyes, he discovered the flaws in Longcheng's moves, and immediately, from bottom to top, he slashed out without hesitation. It was another 10-meter-long chi blade that went straight to the sky. Longcheng found that the speed of the chi blade this time seemed to be faster than before. Most likely it will be dismembered by Hokage. Whoosh! In just a split second, Longcheng managed to avoid Fengkun's air blade again and again. But this time, Chalakur-Mahak didn't stop. He couldn't walk freely in the air like Longcheng. He could only attack from the ground, but he always let this guy escape from Longcheng. This made Jorakur-Mahak angrier the more she thought about it. Originally, I expected Qingzi to force the opponent down, but unexpectedly, when Longcheng was dodging Qingzi, he seemed to be able to dodge the green pheasant. Flying freely, it is more like a dragon entering the sea. Humph. In my opinion, they are nothing but ants that can only dodge. Shish. Shish. A killing intent flashed in Chalakur-Mahak's eyes, and he immediately waved the Black Knife Knight, and continued to hit nearly 100 chi blades, and almost every one of them went straight to the weakness of Longcheng. Obviously like setting the Dragon City to death. Moreover, when part of the edge of the sword energy submerged into the sea, it was like cutting tofu, and a long and deep sea mark was drawn, and it was swallowed by the sea after a few seconds. One can imagine how powerful this sword energy is. In the face of Jorakur-Mahak's deliberate stimulation, Longcheng's mouth twitched unhurriedly, his fists clenched, and at the same time he changed into a nine-tailed fox state again. After that, his eyes did not look at the chi blade that was about to attack, but stared straight in the direction of Hokage. Immediately, the armed color is domineering, and all the limbs of Longcheng are added. 100,000 Tile Zhengchen Black Dragon multiplied by 10. The voice fell. Longcheng quickly gathered his tail behind him, and frantically punched a dozen, even dozens of incomparably fierce fists. Longcheng is not. I want to use this punch with the power to smash 1,000,000 tiles. Energetic, to counteract Hokage's chi blade. Under Jorakur-Mahak, his eyes opened slightly, revealing a slightly surprised expression that rarely appears. Because every punch that Longcheng casts has accurately passed through the gap between the chi blade and the chi blade. Fist chi dragged the long light black tail, and the speed became faster, and continued to charge towards Jorakur-Mahak. Seen from a distance, there is an illusion of stitching. Looking at the chi blade, he was about to slash Longcheng in half, only to see Longcheng increasing his speed again, reaching the limit of his speed. Only less than 0. Within 3 seconds, Longcheng changed back to humanoid state and appeared behind Jorakur-Mahak at the same time. The finger gun absolutely penetrates. Longcheng immediately stretched out a dark black finger. As long as Longcheng stabbed the back of the opponent's head with one finger before Chalakur-Mahak had reacted, it would not be far from the end of the final battle. In fact, this is a move that kills 10,000 enemies with one move and loses 8,000. Because if he shoots too slowly, after Jorakur-Mahak destroys all his punches, the next second will be his death when he enters the absolute slashing range of Hokage. If he shot too fast, it would be almost impossible to completely dodge the punch that was enough to shatter 1,000,000 tiles, and there were still so many. I thought everything was about to end, but Hokage also noticed that Longcheng used the method of teleporting to move behind him, but if he took action to solve Longcheng, he would definitely be beaten by dozens of punches with domineering armed colors. Serious injuries, and possibly even death. I admire your courage, but... The critical moment, Chalakur-Mahak did not turn around to attack Longcheng, but continued to wield the Black Sword Knight, with a powerful chi blade, to destroy the armed fists one after another. Until he disintegrated most of the fist in front of him in one breath, he jumped suddenly and was about to dodge. No more than 3 seconds 3. Although Jorakur-Mahak's dodging speed is not fast, he is frighteningly fast with his knife. Want to dodge? It's too late. Seeing that he was about to succeed, Longcheng suddenly felt his heart tensed, and there was an icy feeling behind him. He almost forgot that there was another enemy who was secretly observing the battle between the two of them, and that person was Aokiji. At this moment, Longcheng can only blame himself for focusing too much on the confrontation with Chaolakor Mahak, completely forgetting the existence of Aokiji, and only thinking that he must solve one first. Never expected that I would accidentally fall into the trap of Aokiji and Jorakor Mahak.